I never imagined that a single night could unravel 20 years of love, trust, and companionship. Life, however, has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. My wife, Emma, and I had been inseparable since our early 20s. Together, we built a life brimming with laughter, memories, and shared dreams. From purchasing our first home to raising two incredible children, we weathered life storms side by side, or so I believed. Emma had always been the adventurous one in our relationship. She thrived on trying new experiences, meeting people, and pushing boundaries, while I found solace in routine and the familiar. Her spark was one of the many things I adored about her. It brought life to our home and excitement to our days. But sometimes, even the brightest flames can ignite fires you never saw coming. The idea of a permitted one-night stand had once been a light-hearted joke between us, something shared in the naive whimsy of our honeymoon phase. "One free pass," she'd said with a mischievous smile. "But only if it's Idris Elba." I'd laughed, brushing it off as harmless banter. After all, wasn't our relationship built on a foundation of love and trust? Months ago, however, those playful words came back to haunt me. Emma had begun to change in ways I couldn't ignore. At first, the signs were subtle: longer hours at work, more frequent nights out with friends, and a growing guardedness about her phone. I dismissed it as her being busy or needing space, but the unease lingered. Then there were the more glaring shifts: a newfound enthusiasm for fitness, an updated wardrobe filled with figure-flattering clothes, and an air of excitement that seemed detached from the life we shared. She was glowing, but not because of us. One evening, as we lounged on the couch, she mentioned a coworker's birthday party she planned to attend. Her tone was casual, almost too much so. "It's nothing big," she said, scrolling through her phone. "Just a few drinks with colleagues. I won't be late." Her words were nonchalant, but the way she avoided my gaze sent a ripple of doubt through me. I nodded, plastering on a smile, but the knot in my stomach tightened. The night of the party arrived, and Emma stepped out of the bedroom looking stunning. She wore a sleek black dress that hugged her figure, paired with heels I hadn't seen her wear in years. She was radiant, the same woman I'd fallen for 2 decades ago. Yet, beneath her beauty, something felt distant, like she wasn't dressing for me. "You look amazing," I said, my voice tinged with unease. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Thanks," she replied, grabbing her purse. "Don't wait up." Hours crawled by as I sat in the living room, pretending to watch a movie. My mind raced with possibilities I didn't want to entertain. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Emma, "Having a great time. Don't worry. Love you." The words should have reassured me, but instead, they felt hollow, as if written out of obligation. By midnight, she still wasn't home. I called her once, twice, 3 times, but each attempt went straight to voicemail. My heart pounded as dark thoughts crept in. When Emma finally walked through the door at 1:30 a.m., I was waiting. Her cheeks were flushed, her hair slightly disheveled, and her eyes sparkled with an energy I hadn't seen in years. "You're still up?" she asked, surprised. "How was the party?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She hesitated, just for a moment, before responding. "It was fun, just the usual office gossip and bad karaoke." She leaned in to kiss me on the cheek, then headed upstairs without another word. I sat there, staring at nothing, as the storm of suspicion gathered strength. In the following weeks, the distance between us grew. Emma seemed lighter, happier, but in a way that excluded me. She was always distracted, checking her phone, smiling at private jokes, or finding reasons to stay late at work. One evening, as she showered, I found myself staring at her phone on the bedside table. The thought of invading her privacy made my stomach churn, but the unanswered questions gnawed at me. With trembling hands, I unlocked her phone using the passcode I'd known for years. My breath caught in my throat as I opened her messages. There it was, a thread of texts with someone named Adam. Their exchanges were intimate and playful, filled with inside jokes and late-night confessions. Then, I saw it, the message that shattered my world. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." My mind reeled, struggling to process the betrayal. Was this the one free pass she had joked about all those years ago? Had she taken it seriously? Or was this something far deeper and more devastating? The ground beneath me felt like it had vanished, leaving me adrift in a sea of confusion and pain. All I knew was that the life we had built together would never be the same again. All these years, my hands had never trembled the way they did as I placed the phone down and sat on the edge of the bed, staring into the abyss of darkness. My chest tightened, my thoughts scattered. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could do was sit there, waiting for her to step out of the shower, to confront her with the truth that had just shattered my world. When Emma finally emerged, her damp hair clung softly to her shoulders, her robe loosely tied around her frame. She looked calm, relaxed even, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. Her smile faded the moment her eyes met mine, sensing the tension that filled the room. "Is everything okay?" she asked cautiously, her voice trembling slightly. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I held up the phone with trembling hands and asked the question that had been burning inside me. "Who's Adam?" I said, my voice steady but cold. Her face paled instantly. For a moment, she said nothing, the silence stretching between us like a canyon. Each second felt like a dagger, carving deeper into my chest. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think, Ben." I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "Not what I think. Last night was amazing, doesn't mean what it clearly does. Don't insult me, Emma." She lowered herself to the edge of the bed, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "It was just a mistake," she murmured, her voice cracking. "A one-time thing. It didn't mean anything." Her words struck like a hammer blow. The woman I had cherished for 2 decades, the one I had trusted with my heart and soul, was sitting before me confessing to a betrayal I had never imagined. A mistake. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "Emma, we've been married for 20 years. We've built a life together, a family. And you threw it all away for a mistake." Tears welled in her eyes, but I couldn't tell if they were born of regret or self-pity. "We talked about this, remember," she said, her voice barely audible. "Years ago, we joked about a free pass. I thought maybe it was okay. That it wouldn't hurt you." I stared at her in disbelief, her words cutting deeper than any blade. "You thought it wouldn't hurt me?" I said, my voice trembling with anger. "How could you possibly think that? How could you believe I'd ever be okay with this?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away instinctively. "I'm sorry, Ben," she pleaded. "I wasn't thinking clearly. It just happened. I don't know what came over me." I stood, pacing the room as I struggled to make sense of her words. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her gaze dropped to the floor. "Someone from work," she admitted. "It's over. It didn't mean anything. Please, Ben, can we just move past this?" Her voice cracked, her tear-filled eyes begging for forgiveness. But I couldn't bring myself to respond. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moments of our marriage like a broken record. Every promise, every shared dream, every memory we had built over 2 decades. And then, like an uninvited shadow, the thought of Adam crept in, the texts, the betrayal, the trust shattered beyond repair. By morning, I had made up my mind. Before Emma woke, I left the house, needing space to think. I found myself at Mark's door, my oldest friend, the only person I trusted to hear me out. When he opened the door, his concern was immediate. "Ben, what's going on?" he asked, ushering me inside. Sitting on his couch, I poured out everything, my voice shaking as I relived the pain. Mark listened quietly, his expression shifting from shock to anger to quiet sympathy. "Man, I'm so sorry," he said when I finished. "I can't even imagine what you're going through." I nodded numbly. "I don't know what to do, Mark. I love her, but I don't think I can ever forgive her. How do you move past something like this?" He sighed, leaning forward. "I don't know, Ben. That's something only you can figure out. But whatever happens, you're not alone. I'm here for you." 4 days, Emma and I barely spoke. She tried reaching out, leaving notes, sending texts, but I couldn't respond. Every time I looked at her, all I could see was betrayal. Finally, after a week of silence, I sat her down and told her the truth. "I can't do this, Emma," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't look at you without seeing him. I can't trust you anymore." She cried, begged me to reconsider, but my mind was made up. "You made your choice," I said quietly. "Now I have to make mine." The divorce was agonizing. Dividing 20 years of shared memories, possessions, and dreams felt like ripping myself apart piece by piece. But as painful as it was also freeing. Staying with Emma would have meant living in the shadow of her betrayal, and I wasn't willing to do that. I deserved better. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding myself. I leaned on friends and family, rediscovered hobbies I'd forgotten, and began to heal. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but it grew quieter, more bearable. I learned to let go of the anger, not for her, but for me. And as I stood on the other side of the storm, I realized something profound. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away.